Another exciting and bright day to bring the Youth Care Talk Show, brought to you by Copperos in partnership with CBC. I'm your host. My name is Albert Chinyanda, and I'm not alone. I'm with
Olivia Tutu. Welcome again, guys. I'm super excited to be here.
I'm very much excited.
Especially because we're talking about health. Remember our tagline, my health, my responsibility. And this show brings to you nothing but the very best health information and sexual information as well.
And we call a spade a spade.
Yes, we don't hide. No sugarcoating.
How have you been, Olivia?
I've been good. How have you been?
I've been alright. I'm trying, but I'm not gaining.
Try pretense. I hear they help. Yes.
I will.
Today we're basically talking about safe and unsafe sexual behaviors. I love health a lot. Probably. Yeah. And what do you know about that?
The safe type or the unsafe type?
Both, actually.
Both. Practices which are actually safe.
As you...
Huh?
You
need to follow me.
Practices that are safe as you...
They promote good health. No side effects. No bad end results.
Nice.
The unsafe types are used.
Unsafe sexual behavior is basically everything you do that's not safe as you explore your sexuality.
How is it not safe? Try to remove the word safe.
That's not healthy. That will complicate your health. That will cause you to...
All right, so give an example.
An example would be if you're going to engage in sex, with your partner, or as you just do it, you will have to use a condom because condom is a dual protection. It protects you from STIs and pregnancy. So if you don't use a condom when you're having sex, that's an unsafe sexual practice or habit.
It's a very good one, very practical. I'll give you
I'm
5
smart.
for that. I'll give you 4.
5-star. Now, what do you think about safe sexual behaviors?
They're very important because they help one live a productive life. And as you said, when you're using a condom, pregnancy, STIs, they get prevented. That gives you...
But what if somebody says, really safe sibiwama?
Really safe sibiwama?
You heard that saying before.
Yeah.
Don't act surprised. You've heard that saying before.
That person needs to be cancelled very well. Okay, look, first, it's a two-way thing.
Yeah.
If people are dating, then they decide they don't want to use a condom. That's all right for them.
I think if you're going to be in a relationship, either married or you're in a relationship with someone, some of the things you have to do is, first of all, protect yourself. If you can't at least get tested 3 times a year, that's like after 3 months, get yourself checked, and also speak about your sexuality with your partner. That's your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, everyone. Have a conversation with them, and
and sticking to one sexual partner.
One sexual
very
partner.
Important. Without you mind like me.
Anyway, moving on. We have a very special guest in the studios that's going to help us speak about safe and unsafe sexual behaviors from a health perspective. Now, she's a medical personnel, so of course, she has all the facts right for us to know what's safe and what's unsafe. Join us on the other side.
As earlier mentioned, we talked about bringing out a guest who's going to help us digest the topic of safe and unsafe sexual behaviors. With us in the studios, we've got Neda, who happens to be a nurse under the Ministry of Health. Neda, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Welcome to the show, Neda.
Thank you, Olivia.
Super excited to have you here.
Okay. I am excited to be here as well.
Yeah. So as Albert has mentioned, today's conversation is basically around safe and unsafe sexual behaviors. And what better way than having a health practitioner speak to us about that, especially as the young people. Now, to kick off the conversation, one of the few questions, in fact, the most important question we should ask is, what is safe sexual behavior?
Okay, so when we look at safe sexual behavior,
Mm-hmm.
these are behaviors that allow one to indulge in sexual activities,
Mm-hmm.
but remaining safe,
Yeah.
like protecting yourself from HIV and AIDS, sexually transmitted infections, and unwanted pregnancies, to mention a few.
Okay. So, what are some of the practices that one can indulge in even as they explore their sexuality, if I can call it?
Okay, so exploring sexuality,
Mhm.
avoiding sexual intercourse itself.
Mhm.
You can explore other means like hugging. You can do
Okay.
holding hands.
That's sexual.
Yes, it is actually. It
Okay,
is,
yeah.
especially in relationships.
Mhm.
Instead of a pair of people, a couple, right?
Mhm.
Indulging in sexual intercourse,
Yeah.
they could actually explore other sexual activities. They could hug,
Mhm.
they could kiss, they could hold hands.
Yeah.
hmm
All right, so we spoke on the safer part. Now, what's the unsafe type?
So the unsafe ones are those kind of habits like anal sex. I know you've heard about oral
Yeah.
sex. There are those who are having sex without a condom,
Mhm.
then having more than one sexual partner. Also, um, there are those who are not truthful in their relationships, like you're cheating.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that is unsafe.
That's unsafe.
hmm
All right, so what do you think are some of the reasons as to why young people practice these types of bad habits?
Young people.
Uh,
Okay, so some of the reasons working with young people personally,
Mhm.
I have had an experience where the young people themselves will give me the reasons,
yeah.
and amongst them, peer pressure comes out quite loudly.
Yeah.
So there is pressure. Others would want to do it because their friends are doing it, because they
Mm.
want to fit in. So they will want to do it. Others could be poverty because they want to get certain things. They indulge in poverty. Others, it's coercion, like where somebody else just entices them into things and then they end up doing it. Yeah.
Don't you think curiosity also plays a role?
It does, yes, to a large extent, especially if growing up you don't have anybody that you could talk to. You are feeling things, you're experiencing new things, but you do not have anybody that you can open up to and someone who can give you proper guidance. You end up being curious about knowing what certain things are. So you find yourself indulging into unsafe sexual behavior.
Interesting. I love the fact that you've spoken about how peer pressure is like the key lead. Now, of course, there's probably a young person who's listening to us right now. What are some of the consequences and risks of practicing unsafe sexual behaviors?
Okay, so unsafe sexual behaviors come with a number of risks. Amongst them, you would end up getting HIV, sexually transmitted infections,
Yeah.
you would end up getting pregnant. And once you're pregnant, it disturbs you with your school. You know, you now have a sibling to look after. That's another burden on someone who's looking after you. On top of it, or with the pregnancy, when someone gets pregnant when they are young, there are health consequences that come with it. You could end up failing to deliver. Then you end up going for cesarean sections. Others during delivery, they face complications where you end up with a fistula and those kind of things.
Wow.
Yes, so it actually robs you of enjoying your particular age.
Wow. Okay,
Yes.
that's scary.
Very
I
much.
wonder why we haven't taken the precautions as young people. Albert, what do you think?
I think information is needed, first of all.
Yeah.
Once people are informed, I think they can make healthier choices regarding their health.
Yeah.
So that leads me back to you, Neda. So what do you think should be done in order to curb both these practices?
Okay, so for unsafe sexual behaviors, firstly, I feel the family plays a role. When you go to friends, the type of friends that one associates with, the school has a role to play, including the church. So growing up in a home, you know, traditionally they would tell us there are certain things a parent is not supposed to tell
Yeah.
a child. But then if you don't speak to that child, where will the child get the information from? They'll go to their friends. That curiosity that is there, they'll kill it from the information that they'll get from their friends. Let's talk about the friends. The type of friends that you have will actually make you indulge in sexual and unsafe sexual behaviors or not.
Yeah.
Let's look at the church. Most of the times in church, we ignore the fact that young people are growing up. They need to be molded.
Yeah.
They're there. They want to experiment and do all those things. But then, as a church, sometimes we shield and we tend to play a blind eye to certain things. So, if the church can also assume that role, yeah.
All right, so right now, as the situation stands, do you think parents are playing a role in helping their children avoid these sexual
Are
behaviors?
parents doing enough?
Yeah.
Well, being a parent to an adolescent girl myself,
Yeah.
it is not easy. It's not an easy thing to open up and talk about safer sexual practices to your own child.
Yeah.
But looking at the current times that we're living in, and knowing that if you do not tell that child, they'll get it either from social media, from their friends, that kind of thing. So I feel right now, I think parents are being enlightened and they're opening up to some extent.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And of course, don't forget to follow us on our Facebook page, that's CBC Zambia. Don't forget to share, like, comment, and invite your friends to join us. I'm enjoying this show. Albert, are you?
I'm very much enjoying it. The knowledge is too much.
Of course, one of the things you spoke about is how family and friends have an influence on how one gets to explore their sexuality and if at all they'll practice safe and unsafe sexual behaviors. Would you say culture also plays a role in that?
Definitely. I think it does. And I'm sure the two of you will agree with me.
In a way, yes.
Looking at your ages, the way you are growing up now, if you hear the stories of the past
Back in the
that
day,
people would tell you, do you think they're the same?
No.
No.
I think we're more exposed, and with exposure comes a lot of curiosity and
Exactly.
experimentation. Yeah, and the fact that there's like a shift in culture, there's like a diverse, there's like diverse ideas. What are some of the things you think we can do as a society to sort of try and mitigate the practice of unsafe sexual behavior?
Okay, so as a society, I'll tell you something, Olivia. If you look at how we live in the urban, is definitely different from how life is in the rural areas.
Yeah.
In the urban, this time you find even young girls will walk up to a parent and ask, "Mom, what is sex?" But in the rural areas, it is still a taboo to talk about certain things.
Yeah.
And there are still certain practices that are being done within our country that are still not exposing this young girl or this young boy to know about safe sexual behaviors and to learn of the unsafe sexual behaviors. So I feel as a society, we need to integrate with the current trends. In as much as, yes, there are traditions that have been passed on from time to time, but then we need to incorporate what is happening now so that we still don't lose our own tradition. Like, we just incorporate it together so that we can move with the current times with the young people.
I love how she said integrate, because I feel
Bro.
like a lot of old people, sorry to say this, but they have very hard minds. Like whatever they knew in 1964 is what should stand
The
even
cultural
in
norms are too
yes. So if we can sort of integrate like both the old and the new, like combining it to sort of give adolescents more options even as they explore their sexuality. Now, there's probably someone again who's watching us and they're wondering, where can I get this information? What are some of the places that adolescents can get information about safe sexual behaviors?
Thank you, Olivia. So some of the places they can get information from are health facilities. So within health facilities, this time the Ministry of Health is at least struggling. We cannot say it's fully integrated because there are certain health facilities which don't have the spaces. But Ministry of Health, with support from partners, they are at least trying by all means to have a youth-friendly space at each and every health facility. This is a space where any young person can walk through. They'll meet a fellow young person who they can ask questions to freely, and that person will be able to help them. Those are trained young people, actually.
Is that common in all parts of the country, or it's just Lusaka?
It is common in all parts of the country.
So if someone in Sinazongo right now will probably walk into a health space and find someone to speak to.
Yes, that's why I say the Ministry of Health is struggling to do that, because they have tried at least almost in each and every health facility. Every province in Zambia, there is a youth-friendly space in the facilities.
Nice.
All right, so what are some of the services being offered at the youth-friendly space?
Okay, so at the youth-friendly space, you find, apart from information sharing, you also find there are times we also have fun, actually. We do play drums, we do sing, we do a bit of activity, some entrepreneur activity kind of, where we would learn how to plait hair, we'll do doormat making. You know, we even still make the balls that we used to make in the olden days with plastics and all that.
Yes.
So, yeah, we do quite a number of things.
All right, so the services being offered, are they free of charge, or maybe there's a fee to pay?
No, they are not for paying.
They're
It is free.
100% free.
It is
100%
free. Yes, it is very free.
Yeah, that's a lot of information to take in. Right now, we're going to go on a short break, and when we come back, we're going to digest more on some of the safe and unsafe sexual behaviors. Join us.
Welcome back. We're still driving the conversation with Neda on safe and unsafe sexual behaviors. So Neda, before we went to the break, we were talking about your friendly space, them being free of charge, the creativity, the fun. So now the question is, we have those youth-friendly space, but why does the number of young persons involving themselves in unsafe sexual practices keep on rising? Is that people are not aware of the services being offered at the youth-friendly space, or the approach isn't right?
Wow. Okay. Now that question, asking how, why young people are still getting pregnant, I think I'll send it back to you. You're the young people. You tell me. Olivia, amongst your friends, being in college, I'm sure you've seen a couple of activities. I'll send it back to you. You give me the reasons why.
Well, honestly, yeah.
It's hard to explain, but
No, I think one of the reasons would be the idea of this can't happen to me, because I've heard people who say I can't get HIV or I can't get pregnant up until they actually find themselves in that space. So there's the notion to say certain things can only happen to certain people and not me. I think that's one of the few reasons I found. I don't know about Albert.
on the same page, but I think I could add on wanting to be a star. Okay, speaking on the aspect of men.
Guys,
You want to be the one thinking, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just to sum up with what you're saying. So, you know, being a young person, when we look at an adolescent, you're neither a child nor an adult. And if you remember before we went on a break, you had asked on reasons why they still indulge.
Yeah.
We are giving the information. We are trying to reach out to them. But there are those other reasons. Like Olivia said, you think it can't happen to me, but it can happen to someone else. You think maybe they were not clever enough. So it's some of those reasons we had discussed on before we went on a break that actually make young people to still indulge in unsafe sex.
I think also looking at the fact that a lot of people think it can happen to them, what are some of the most problematic health complications that one can experience if they're indulging in unsafe sexual behavior? Maybe when we know as young people, you know, the minute you
try and
want to
avoid
do
it.
it, you're like, no, I shouldn't do this because there's this. Yeah.
Okay. So for complications, I think I even mentioned
Yeah.
on some of them before the break. HIV is one of them.
Yeah.
And you know, with HIV, yes, we do have treatments, but it comes with its own challenges, you know.
Yeah.
Then there are sexually transmitted infections. Sexually transmitted infections can go as bad as affecting your brain, where someone could go insane if you have untreated STIs. There are issues of pregnancies, complications that come with pregnancies. If you look at our country, maternal mortality is quite high. And if you look at the number of women who die, the young people actually have a larger portion of those women. So those are some of the complications that one wouldn't want to actually face. And then also it's, like I told you, it robs you of your childhood, your adolescent, your youthfulness.
Yeah.
You fall pregnant, you have issues of taking care of the child, yourself, look at your school, you still want to go into college, you still want to become somebody in future. But then when you get pregnant, it takes you back. Unfortunately, if you even get an STI, if you get HIV, so it actually just derails you off your path to your future.
Right. So bringing it back, you talked about it being very hard for you to have a conversation with your child regarding sexual matters and everything.
Yes.
So for parents out there,
Mhm.
what can be done for those parents that don't talk to the children about sexual behaviors? What should be done to them?
Okay, thanks for that. So right now, with Ministry of Health, and there are some partners that are doing that as well. There are these dialogue meetings that we are trying to come up with in the community where we call parents. You integrate, you interact with the parents actually. You tell them about the young people, tell them who a young person is, the challenges that come with being young, all these, the curiosities, the peer pressures and all that, you discuss with them. So it's a platform where if you have those dialogue meetings, the parents will express themselves. They will say their concerns, they will say their fears, and we try to address those challenges as such. So that is one of the steps that are being done. The other thing is, like in churches, this time I know churches who are having like a women's meeting. During those meetings, if there could be one who would talk to the fellow women about young people, talk to them on the importance of you yourself delivering the information to the young person. Moreover, the Bible tells us, train up a child in the way he should grow. And as such, he will not depart even when he is old.
Yeah.
So now, if you're not training your own child, who will?
It's a very good
Yeah.
Who
question.
will? You know, because I think half the time there's the idea of the teachers and the youth-friendly spaces and whatnot. And if there are partners in the government trying to bridge up the gap between the parents and the children, then I think we're headed to the right direction with regards to sexuality and young people. Yeah?
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, we have come to the end of our interview, but before we let you go, what is that one advice you're giving us, the young people, even as we explore sexuality on safe and unsafe sexual behavior?
Awesome. Okay, so even as you explore your sexuality, I would urge all the young people to practice safe sexual behaviors. There are so many things that you can do in order to preserve yourself until you're ready for that sexual interaction. Yes. Amongst them, you would find there's delayed sexual debut. There's a certain maturity that comes with age, whereby even when you indulge yourself in sex, you will understand what it is.
Yeah.
But if you start having sex, you're 13 years old. How will you be by the time you're 21? So if you delay your sexual debut to a point where you're old enough to understand what is going on. Remember, in these relationships, there are also heartbreaks, huh? So you need to have the know-how of even how you're going to handle yourself, your emotional feelings, and all that. So I would encourage all the young people to stay away from unsafe sexual behaviors. let's keep ourselves pure. Let's listen to our parents. Let's listen to our teachers. I know teachers and parents are stressing out there in the communities, telling us, don't do this. When we're growing up, we're like that. Let us not forsake the teachings of the old. In as much as we know tradition comes with its own harsh things, but slowly the tradition is blending into our own. Let's not say, no, that used to happen in the past. It can't happen to me. Let's try to listen to all those things. Moreover, our parents have seen more sons than us. And we're still growing. We still need them. Yeah.
So thank you so much for coming through. I enjoyed myself and I have learned a lot. So right now we're going to go on the other side as Albert and I wind up the show. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're still with me, Olivia Tutu.
Albert Chinyende.
And this is the Youth Care Talk Show brought to you by Corporals in partnership with CBC TV Zambia.
Olivia, that was a very beautiful conversation. What was your key takeaway point?
From the conversation we had, my key takeaway point is even as you explore your sexuality, ensure that you are doing it the safe way. That's practicing safe sexual behaviors at all costs. What was your takeaway?
The interventions, obviously, because I love how they're planning to incorporate parents, the community, the church, everybody in this fight.
Yeah.
I love that part.
Do you ever have conversations about sexuality with your parents?
Nope.
Have you ever had?
Nope, never had.
Why not?
I don't know. How am I supposed to know? I'm the child. They're supposed to talk to me.
No, but have you tried asking questions and then they've like shied away, like, no, we can't talk about this, or maybe you haven't even bothered asking?
Yeah, I did at some point, but the response wasn't very satisfied. It was like, okay, and
and
they
never came back.
Never came back.
Well, I've had a different experience. I've had conversations with my mom. And so
how were they?
It was basic stuff because I did my first HIV test when I was 12.
At 12?
Yes. And she just told me, protect yourself. She just said, pregnancy is real, HIV is real, protect yourself. And that was it. Have you ever had conversations with regards to sexuality with your parents? If so, please let us know in the comment section. That's, of course, if you're using Facebook to watch us, that's CBC TV Zambia. And, of course, if you're using DSTV, that's channel 277. Of course, there's a number that's trending on your screen. Make sure you send us the message and let us know.
And you can also watch this show on GoTV channel 93 and Top Star 112.
Of course. I've enjoyed myself and I've learned so much.
I've had a blast, personally.
I can't wait to go back to school, especially on campus, and teach people. Do the right thing. Yes, you want to do
We'll go preach, we'll be partners.
Yes. Of course, we've come to the end of the show. Thank you so much for tuning in up until the end. This has been Olivia Tutu with my co-host,
Albert Chinyende.
Till next time, peace out.